The kitchen sink was leaking again, third time this month. I crouched under the cabinet with my flashlight, watching water drip onto the warped wood below. 15 years in this house, and everything was falling apart at once, just like my marriage. "I can't wait for Thursday," Kara's voice drifted from the living room. "You make me feel alive again." I froze, wrench halfway to the pipe joint. My wife was giggling like a teenager, voice pitched low and intimate, the way she used to talk to me, back when we were dating. "No, he won't suspect anything," she continued. "Damon's always working anyway. He barely notices I exist." The wrench slipped from my hand, clanging against the pipe. I held my breath, waiting for her to check on the noise. Instead, she laughed again. "You're terrible," she whispered, "but I love it." I stayed under that sink for another 20 minutes, listening to her make plans with whoever was on the other end of that call. Plans that didn't include her husband of 12 years. When she finally hung up, I heard her footsteps padding upstairs to our bedroom. Our bedroom. Right. I finished the repair in silence, muscle memory guiding my hands, while my brain processed what I'd just heard. Kara was having an affair. The woman who complained when I left dishes in the sink was sneaking around behind my back. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, fixing our house while she was busy breaking our marriage. I cleaned up my tools and headed upstairs. Kara was already in bed, scrolling through her phone with that secretive smile I'd been seeing more often lately. She didn't look up when I entered. "Sink's fixed," I said. She didn't even glance my way. I stood there for a moment, studying her face in the blue glow of her screen. When had we become strangers living in the same house? When had Thursday nights become her excuse to disappear for hours? "I'm going to shower," I announced. Still no response. Under the hot water, I replayed the phone conversation. The way she'd said, "You make me feel alive," with such genuine warmth. When was the last time she'd spoken to me like that? When was the last time we'd had a real conversation that didn't involve household logistics or her complaints about my work schedule? I'd been a behavioral analyst for the FBI for 8 years, before retiring early to start my locksmith business. Old habits die hard. I couldn't help but analyze patterns, motivations, inconsistencies, and Kara had been full of inconsistencies lately. The Thursday night Pilates classes that ran suspiciously long, the new workout clothes and expensive perfume, the way she guarded her phone like it contained state secrets, the sudden interest in girls' nights that left her glowing and energized instead of tired. All the classic signs. I'd seen them 100 times in case files, interrogation rooms, surveillance reports. I just never thought I'd be living them. When I came out of the bathroom, Kara was asleep, or pretending to be. I slipped into bed beside her, careful not to disturb the careful distance she maintained between us these days. We used to sleep tangled together like teenagers. Now, we had our separate sides of the mattress, an invisible wall down the middle. I stared at the ceiling for hours, listening to her breathe. Tomorrow was Wednesday. Thursday was coming, and with it, whoever, was making my wife feel alive again. The next morning, Kara was already gone when I woke up. No note, no goodbye, just the lingering scent of her new perfume and a coffee cup in the sink. I was loading my van with equipment for the day's calls when I spotted something interesting. Kara's winter coat was draped over the passenger seat of her car, forgotten in her rush to leave. She'd need it. October mornings were getting cold. I walked over to move it inside for her. That's when I felt the crinkle of paper in the pocket. 3 hotel receipts. Red Roof Inn on Highway 9. All dated for Thursday nights over the past month. All charged to her credit card. My hands were steady as I photographed each receipt with my phone. 12 years of FBI training had taught me to document everything before drawing conclusions. But my gut already knew what I'd find. The Red Roof Inn was 20 miles from her Pilates studio, in the opposite direction from our house. I tucked the receipts back where I'd found them and headed to work. But my mind wasn't on the broken locks and security systems I'd be fixing today. It was on my wife's Thursday night routine and the man who was making her feel alive. That evening, I watched Kara more carefully. She moved through our house like she was already somewhere else, distracted and restless. During dinner, she checked her phone 6 times. "How was Pilates yesterday?" I asked casually. "Good." She didn't look up from her plate. "Challenging class." "Must have been. You got home pretty late." Now she looked at me, eyes narrowing slightly. "Traffic was bad." I nodded like I believed her. "Well, at least you're getting good exercise. You seem energized lately." Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But it passed quickly. "I should go to bed early tonight," she said. "Tomorrow's going to be busy." Thursday. Of course it was. After she went upstairs, I sat in my workshop in the garage thinking. I could confront her with the receipts, demand explanations, force the truth into the open. But that would only give her a chance to cover her tracks, come up with better lies. No, I needed more information first. I needed to know who she was meeting, how long this had been going on, what exactly I was dealing with. I needed to think like an investigator again, not a hurt husband. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a tracking app on Kara's phone while she was in the shower. It took 30 seconds, one of the benefits of being married to someone who trusted you enough to share passwords. She kissed my cheek goodbye, the same perfunctory peck she'd been giving me for months. "I'll be late tonight. Pilates, then drinks with the girls." "Have fun," I said. At 6:30 that evening, I watched the little dot on my phone screen move from the Pilates studio to the Red Roof Inn. It stayed there for 2 hours and 17 minutes. I drove to the motel and parked across the street, camera ready. At 9:15, Kara emerged from room 237 with a man I'd never seen before. Tall, athletic, probably in his early 30s. Dark hair, expensive gym clothes, the kind of confident stride that comes with youth and good genetics. He walked her to her car, kissed her goodbye, not a friendly peck, but a real kiss, the kind that meant something. Then he got into a silver BMW with vanity plates that read Tan 3R, Tanner. So now my wife's lover had a name. I followed him from a distance, careful to stay back. He lived in a trendy downtown loft complex, the kind of place that catered to young professionals with more money than sense. I watched him park and head inside, probably to shower off the scent of my wife. That night, Kara came home glowing. She hummed while she got ready for bed, actually smiled when I asked about her evening. "Great class," she said. "Really worked up a sweat." I bet she did. Over the weekend, I did my research. Tanner Jossman, age 32, software consultant for a tech firm downtown. Single, no kids, recent transplant from California. Member of 3 different gyms, including Elite Fitness on 5th Street. Elite Fitness. The same gym Kara had joined 2 months ago, claiming she wanted to mix up her routine. By Monday morning, I had a plan. Elite Fitness smelled like rubber mats and ambition. I'd never been inside before. Kara always described it as her sanctuary, the one place that was just hers. Now I understood why. First time here? The kid at the front desk looked like he bench-pressed small cars for fun. "Yeah, thinking about joining." I glanced around at the gleaming equipment, the mirrors that reflected serious faces and sculpted bodies. "Heard good things." "Awesome. Want to try a day pass first? See if it's a good fit?" 20 minutes later, I was on a treadmill, watching Tanner Jossman work his way through a chest routine. He was exactly what I'd expected, focused, methodical, the kind of guy who probably tracked his macros and posted workout selfies. I'd timed this carefully. Kara had a client meeting across town, and Tanner's social media suggested he hit the gym every day at 5:30. Creatures of habit, both of them. I waited until he moved to the bench press, then made my approach. Mind if I work in? I gestured to the bar loaded with more weight than I'd attempted in years. He looked me over, middle-aged guy in faded gym clothes, clearly not in his league, but he nodded. Sure thing. How many sets you got left? Just warming up. I stripped off half the weight plates. You're strong as hell, man. I'm Damon. Tanner. He shook my hand with the firm grip of someone who'd been taught that handshakes mattered. You been training long? On and off for years. Work gets in the way, you know? What about you? Pretty much daily. Helps clear my head after staring at code all day. Programmer. That tracked with my research. I adjusted the weight and positioned myself under the bar. What kind of programming? Software consulting. Boring stuff mostly. Database optimization, system integration. He spotted me through my set, hands hovering near the bar. What do you do? Locksmith. Also pretty boring, but it pays the bills. We fell into an easy rhythm, trading sets and small talk. Tanner was exactly the type I'd profiled, confident but not arrogant. Friendly in that casual way guys were at the gym. He probably had no idea he was sleeping with a married woman. You seem like you know what you're doing, he said as I racked the bar. Most guys our age just go through the motions. Our age. I was 44 to his 32, but I appreciated the diplomatic phrasing. Used to be in better shape, I admitted. Marriage, you know, gets comfortable, stop trying as hard. Something shifted in his expression, a flicker of discomfort. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Interesting. You married? No, but... He hesitated, then shrugged. Seeing someone, it's complicated. Complicated, that was one word for it. Complicated how? I asked, loading plates for his next set. She's going through some stuff, marriage problems. He positioned himself under the bar, avoiding my eyes. I probably shouldn't be talking about it. Marriage problems. My jaw clenched, but I kept my voice casual. That does sound complicated. She separated. Working on it. He pressed the weight up, muscles straining. Her husband's apparently pretty checked out. Works all the time, doesn't pay attention to her. I spotted him through the set, fighting the urge to let the bar drop on his chest. Instead, I helped him rack it safely. Sounds rough for her, I said. Yeah, she deserves better. She's amazing, smart, funny, beautiful. I can't understand how any guy could take that for granted. Amazing, smart, funny, beautiful. All things I used to think about Kara back when she bothered to be any of those things with me. Well, I said, maybe her husband doesn't know what he's losing. His loss, Tanner said with the confidence of a man who thought he was winning. We finished the workout with plans to meet again Friday. As I watched him leave in his silver BMW, I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, that would come later. This was something more calculating, more patient. Tanner Jossman thought he was the hero in this story, rescuing my wife from her neglectful husband. He had no idea he was just another piece on a board I was learning to play. That night, Kara asked about my day with unusual interest. How was work? She said over dinner. Good. Joined a new gym, actually. Her fork paused halfway to her mouth. Really? Which one? Elite Fitness downtown. Figured I should get back in shape. I watched her face carefully, the slightest tightening around her eyes, a barely perceptible tension in her shoulders. That's great, she said. Good for you. Yeah, met some interesting people, friendly crowd. She nodded, but I could see her mind working, calculating the implications. Her sanctuary had been invaded and she didn't know how to react. Friday's workout went even better. Tanner was warming up when I arrived, and he waved me over like we were old friends. How's the complicated situation? I asked as we started our routine. He glanced around, making sure no one was listening. Better, actually. She's finally ready to have the conversation with her husband about wanting out. My hand tightened on the dumbbell. That's big. Yeah, I told her I'd support whatever she decides, but honestly, I think she's been unhappy for years. Sometimes people just grow apart, you know? Must be hard for everyone involved, I said. The husband's probably going to be blindsided, Tanner continued. But maybe that's what he needs to wake up. Start paying attention to what matters. What matters? Like my wife, who was apparently ready to throw away 12 years without even trying to fix what was broken. When's this conversation supposed to happen? I asked. Soon. She's nervous about it, but I think she knows it's time. After the workout, we grabbed beers at Murphy's, a dive bar 2 blocks from the gym. Tanner relaxed with alcohol in his system, became more talkative. Can I ask you something? He said, peeling the label off his bottle. How do you know when someone's the one? The one? Like, when you meet someone and everything just clicks. Like you've been waiting for them your whole life. I thought about Kara at 28, laughing at my jokes, stealing fries from my plate, falling asleep on my shoulder during movies. When had that stopped feeling like magic and started feeling like routine? I guess when you can't imagine your life without them, I said. Exactly. His face lit up. That's how I feel about her. Like everything before was just practice. Practice. 12 years of marriage reduced to practice for the real thing. She feel the same way? I think so. Hope so. He took a long drink. She lights up when she talks about our future together. Places we want to travel, things we want to do. She hasn't felt excited about anything in years. Our future. They were already planning a life together while I fixed leaky sinks and pretended not to notice my marriage dissolving. What's she like? I asked. Beautiful, obviously. But more than that, she's got this energy, this passion for life. She teaches fitness classes, stays in incredible shape. And she's funny, man. Makes me laugh every day. Kara did used to be funny. Sharp, quick-witted, always ready with a comeback. When had she stopped making me laugh? Sounds perfect, I said. Nobody's perfect, but she's perfect for me, you know? I knew. I'd felt that way once, a lifetime ago. We talked for another hour, about work, sports, life in general. Tanner was a good guy, the kind of person I might actually like under different circumstances, which somehow made everything worse. When I got home, Kara was on the phone again. She hung up quickly when I walked in. Who was that? I asked. Just Melissa. Girl talk. Melissa Hart, her best friend and divorce attorney. Another piece of the puzzle clicking into place. Everything okay? Fine. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm going to bed early. Long day tomorrow. Saturday. Not Thursday, but apparently the schedule was expanding. That night, I lay awake thinking about Tanner's words. Everything just clicks. When was the last time anything had clicked between Kara and me? When had we stopped being partners and become roommates? When had I stopped fighting for us? But it was too late for those questions now. She'd already made her choice, already started building a new life with someone else. The only question left was what I was going to do about it. Sunday morning, I made a decision. I was going to document everything, every lie, every meeting, every moment of this betrayal. Not for revenge, not yet. For truth. Because whatever came next, I wanted to make sure everyone involved understood exactly what had happened here, including my wife's perfect new boyfriend, who thought he was saving her from a marriage that was already over. Tanner Jossman was about to learn that some stories have more than one side, and some heroes turn out to be something else entirely when you shine the right light on them. The hardest part about surveillance is staying objective. After 15 years in law enforcement, I knew the importance of facts over feelings, evidence over assumptions. But watching your wife lie to your face every day tests that discipline. Monday morning, I installed a small recording device in Kara's car. Nothing fancy, just a voice-activated unit I'd picked up for security consultations. Completely legal since my name was on the registration. By Wednesday, I had 12 hours of audio. Kara's phone calls painted a detailed picture of deception that would have impressed the criminals I used to chase. "He's so clueless," she told Melissa during her drive to work Tuesday. "I could probably bring Tanner home for dinner and Damon wouldn't notice." "You're terrible," Melissa laughed. "But seriously, when are you going to end this charade? The poor guy deserves better than being strung along." Poor guy. They were talking about Tanner, not me. "Soon," Kara said. "I just need to make sure everything's lined up first. Financially, I mean." "Smart girl. Don't let him hide assets." "Damon's not smart enough to hide anything. He keeps all our financial stuff in that stupid filing cabinet like it's Fort Knox." That stupid filing cabinet contained 12 years of carefully organized records, investment statements, and tax returns. The foundation of the life we'd built together, reduced to a punchline. Wednesday's recording was even more illuminating. "Tanner wants to meet my friends," Kara told someone, not Melissa this time. The voice was unfamiliar. "That's sweet. He's really serious about you." "I know, it's just complicated. He doesn't know about Damon yet." "Wait, what? You still haven't told him you're married?" My hands froze on the steering wheel. Tanner didn't know. "It's not that simple, Jenny. If I tell him now, he might freak out and leave. I need him to be invested first, to understand that what we have is real." "Kara, I know how it sounds, but you don't understand what my marriage is like. Damon and I are basically strangers living in the same house. We haven't been intimate in months. We barely talk. It's been over for years." Months. Try 2 years, but who was counting? "Still, the guy has a right to know. And he will, after I file for divorce, once everything's official and he can see I'm serious about us." After she filed for divorce, using information she was gathering while lying to both of us. That evening at the gym, Tanner seemed distracted. "Everything okay?" I asked as we loaded the squat rack. "Yeah, just relationship stuff." He positioned the bar across his shoulders. "Sometimes I feel like I don't know her as well as I thought." "How so?" "She's secretive about certain things. Won't introduce me to her friends. Gets weird when I ask about her past relationships." He completed his set and stepped back. "I'm probably overthinking it." "Maybe she's just private," I suggested. "Maybe, but we've been together 3 months. At some point, don't you want to integrate your lives?" 3 months. So this started in July, right around the time she joined Elite Fitness. "Have you met any of her friends?" I asked. "Not yet. She says they're protective, that they've seen her hurt before." He loaded more weight onto the bar, which I get, but it makes me feel like I'm some dirty secret. "You are," I thought. "Just not the way you think." "What about her ex?" I pressed. "The husband she's separated from?" "She doesn't talk about him much. Says it's too painful." Tanner's jaw tightened. Guy sounds like a real piece of work, though. Emotionally absent, workaholic, never appreciated what he had. Sounds rough. "Yeah, she deserves so much better. Someone who actually sees her, who makes her feel valued." The irony was suffocating. Here was a man who genuinely cared about my wife, who wanted to give her everything I'd apparently failed to provide, and she was lying to him as easily as she lied to me. "You ever think about confronting the husband?" I asked. "What do you mean?" "Just letting him know his wife's moved on. Might speed up the divorce process." Tanner considered this. "She asked me not to. Says he might get vindictive if he knows about us too early." He shrugged. "I respect her judgment. She knows him better than I do." She certainly did. After our workout, we hit Murphy's again. 3 beers in, Tanner's phone buzzed with a text. His face lit up as he read it. "She wants to see me tonight," he said. "Unexpected free evening." I knew why. I'd called Kara an hour ago, told her I'd be working late on an emergency lockout, creating opportunities for her betrayal while documenting every moment. That's great, I said. I should probably head out. He drained his beer and stood. Rain check on the next round? Absolutely. I watched him leave, probably rushing to shower and make himself presentable for my wife. Then I drove to the Red Roof Inn and waited. They arrived separately, operational security, I supposed. Kara first, then Tanner 10 minutes later. Room 237 again. They weren't even trying to vary the pattern. I photographed his car, the room number, the timestamp on my phone. Then I settled in to wait, thinking about the man upstairs with my wife. Tanner Jossman was a good person, caught in a bad situation. He thought he was dating a separated woman, ready to start fresh. He had no idea he was enabling adultery, helping destroy a marriage that might still be salvageable if anyone bothered to try. But that wasn't his fault. It was hers. 2 hours later, they emerged together. The same goodbye kiss, the same satisfied glow on Kara's face. Tanner held her hand until she reached her car, watching her drive away before getting into his BMW. I followed her home, staying well back. She beat me by 15 minutes, just enough time to shower and change into pajamas. When I walked through the door, she was curled up on the couch with a book, the picture of domestic innocence. "How was your emergency?" she asked without looking up. "Frustrating. Old lock, stubborn owner." I sat down beside her, close enough to smell her shampoo. "How was your evening?" "Quiet. Just relaxed, read a little." The lies came so easily. No hesitation, no tells, no guilt. She'd become a stranger, wearing my wife's face. "I'm thinking about having some people over this weekend," I said casually. "Maybe a barbecue. Been too long since we entertained." Now she looked at me, alarm flickering in her eyes. "This weekend?" "Saturday afternoon. Nothing fancy. Just a few friends, some food." I smiled. "Maybe you could invite some of your gym buddies. I'd love to meet them." "I don't think they're really barbecue people," she said. "No? What kind of people are they?" "Just different from your friends, different interests. Different ages, more likely. Hard to explain a 32-year-old boyfriend to a backyard full of middle-aged couples." "Well, maybe another time," I said. "Maybe." That night, I transferred all my recordings to a secure drive and began organizing the evidence. Photos, audio files, timeline documentation, financial records. The complete picture of a marriage ending not with arguments or counseling or honest conversations, but with lies and lawyers and secret hotel rooms. By Thursday morning, I had enough evidence to destroy Kara in divorce court. But that wasn't enough anymore. I wanted something more complete, more satisfying. I wanted truth. Tanner thought he was in love with a woman who didn't exist. Kara thought she could manage 2 relationships indefinitely, keeping us both in the dark until it suited her purposes. They were both living in fantasy worlds built on deception. It was time to introduce them to reality. Friday's workout was our best yet. Tanner was in great spirits, talking about weekend plans with his mysterious girlfriend. They were going to try a new restaurant, maybe catch a movie. Normal couple things that felt revolutionary to him after months of secret hotel meetings. "She's opening up more," he said between sets. "Talking about the future, making plans. I think she's finally ready to close the door on her past. That's progress. Yeah, I can see us really building something together. Maybe even moving in together once her divorce is final." Moving in together. Into the loft I'd watched him enter a dozen times, or into the house where I currently lived. Had they discussed logistics? Or was this still fantasy? "Where would you live?" I asked. "Probably my place at first. Give her time to adjust, figure out what she wants long-term." He paused his workout, expression growing serious. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "You ever been through a divorce?" The question hit harder than expected. "No, still married." "How do you know when someone's really ready to commit? Like, really ready, not just saying the words?" I thought about Kara 12 years ago, planning our wedding with obsessive attention to detail, She'd wanted everything perfect: the flowers, the music, the vows we wrote ourselves. She'd cried when I promised to love her for better or worse, in sickness and health, till the end. I guess when their actions match their words, I said. Yeah, that makes sense. He resumed his set. Sometimes I feel like she's holding back, like there's something she's not telling me. There was. The question was whether he could handle the truth when it finally came out. Maybe she's just being cautious, I suggested. Divorce can be messy. She probably wants to protect you from the drama. That's what I figured. She's considerate like that. Considerate. Right. After our workout, Tanner declined drinks. Big date night, he explained. Had to get ready, make reservations, pick up flowers. The full romantic treatment for a woman who was lying to him about the most basic facts of her life. I went home instead, arriving before Kara for once. She found me in the kitchen, making dinner for two. You're home early, she said, hanging up her purse. Thought we could eat together for once. Been a while. She hesitated, phone in her hand. Probably needed to cancel with Tanner, come up with an excuse for why her evening suddenly wasn't free. That's sweet, but I already made plans with Melissa. Cancel them. What? Cancel them, I repeated, setting plates on the table. Have dinner with your husband. Something shifted in her expression. Surprise, maybe even fear. When was the last time I'd made a demand instead of a request? I can't just cancel, she said. Melissa's going through a rough patch. She needs me. She'll understand. Tell her something came up. Kara stared at me for a long moment, phone still clutched in her hand. I could see her calculating, weighing options, trying to figure out what this meant. Fine, she said finally. Let me just text her. She stepped into the living room, and I heard her making a call instead. Her voice was low, urgent, apologetic. Tanner's perfect evening dissolving into disappointment and confusion. When she came back, her smile was forced but present. Melissa understands, she said. Good. I made your favorite. Dinner was surreal. We sat across from each other like actors playing roles we'd forgotten how to inhabit. Kara asked about my work, complimented the food, laughed at my jokes with mechanical precision, but her phone kept buzzing with texts she couldn't answer. Popular tonight, I observed. Just work stuff. More lies. Always more lies. But I smiled and nodded and played the oblivious husband while my wife squirmed in her chair, probably wondering how to explain her disappearance to the man who thought he was her only secret. After dinner, she excused herself to take a shower. I listened to her make another phone call from upstairs. Damage control, apologies, promises to make it up to him soon. When she came back down in her robe, I was waiting with a bottle of wine and an old photo album. Remember this? I opened to our wedding pictures. Kara's face went pale. What's this about, Damon? Just feeling nostalgic. Look how young we were. I turned pages slowly, watching her discomfort grow with each image. Us at the altar, exchanging rings, cutting cake, dancing to our song. Two people who'd promised to forsake all others, to work through problems together, to honor the commitment they were making. We were happy then, I said. Yes, she whispered. We were. What happened to us, Kara? The question hung in the air like a challenge. She could tell the truth, admit what she'd done, give us a chance to address the wreckage honestly. Or she could lie again, keep playing the game until I decided to end it. People change, she said finally. We grew apart. Did we? Or did we just stop trying? I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to say something real. Something true. I closed the album and looked at her directly. When was the last time we had a real conversation? When was the last time you told me what you were actually thinking? Her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it reflexively, then back at me. I think about us sometimes, she said carefully, about whether we're both just going through the motions. And what conclusion do you reach? That maybe we've become different people than we were when we got married. Different how? You're always working. I'm always somewhere else. We live in the same house, but separate lives. Is that what you want? Separate lives? The question she'd been avoiding for months finally asked directly. I watched her face, looking for any sign of the woman I'd married, any hint that part of her wanted to fight for what we'd built. I don't know, she said. Maybe. Maybe. Not yes, not no. Still hedging, still keeping her options open. Well, I said, standing up and taking the album with me. At least that's honest. I left her sitting there with her wine and her phone, probably wondering what had just happened. Upstairs, I transferred the evening's recording to my secure drive and added it to the growing file. Tomorrow was Saturday. Time to move to the next phase of the plan. Time to introduce Tanner Jossman to the truth about the woman he thought he loved. Saturday morning, I made coffee for 2 and waited. Kara emerged from the bedroom at 9:30, hair messy, eyes avoiding mine. The awkwardness from dinner still hung between us like smoke. Morning, she mumbled, reaching for her mug. Sleep well? Fine. Her phone had buzzed with texts until nearly midnight. Tanner, probably, trying to understand why his girlfriend had suddenly vanished mid-conversation. I'd heard her typing responses from the bedroom. More lies to manage, more stories to coordinate. I was thinking, I said casually, maybe we should try counseling. Coffee sloshed over the rim of her mug. What? Marriage counseling. See if we can work through some of this distance between us. She stared at me like I'd suggested we join the circus. Where is this coming from? Last night got me thinking. About us. About whether we're giving up too easily. I leaned against the counter, studying her face. We promised each other forever, Kara. Maybe we owe it to ourselves to try. The irony was perfect. Here I was, offering to fight for a marriage she'd already abandoned, giving her a chance to choose honesty over deception. All she had to do was tell the truth. I don't know if counseling would help, she said. Why not? Because some things can't be fixed. Like what? She opened her mouth, then closed it. The truth was right there, waiting to come out. Instead, she shook her head. I need to think about it. Sure, take your time. She escaped upstairs to shower, leaving me alone with my coffee and my certainty. Kara wasn't going to choose us. She'd already chosen Tanner, already started building a new life in secret. The counseling offer was just another obstacle to navigate around, which meant it was time for Plan B. At noon, I texted Tanner, "Want to grab lunch? Know a great place downtown?" He responded immediately, "Absolutely. Where?" "Cafe Luna on 5th Street. See you at 1? Perfect. Cafe Luna was 3 blocks from Kara's Pilates studio, in the heart of the district where she spent her Saturday afternoons. Not an accident. I arrived early, chose a table by the window, and waited. Tanner showed up precisely on time, punctual, reliable, everything a woman could want in a partner. He looked tired, though, stressed. "Thanks for reaching out," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. I could use some normal human interaction. Rough night? Weird night. My girlfriend was supposed to meet me for dinner, then suddenly canceled. Family emergency, she said, but... He shrugged. I don't know. Something felt off. Family emergency. Creative. Maybe it really was an emergency, I suggested. Maybe. But she's been strange lately. Secretive. Like she's hiding something big. She was. The question was whether he was ready to hear what it was. We ordered sandwiches and talked about safe topics. Work, sports, weekend plans. But I could see Tanner's mind elsewhere, chewing on whatever doubts had kept him awake. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "You've been married a while, right?" 12 years. How do you handle it when your partner isn't being completely honest with you? The question hung between us like a loaded weapon. He had no idea he was asking the one person who could give him the most accurate answer. Depends on what they're hiding, I said carefully. What if it's something fundamental, like basic facts about their life? Such as? I don't even know. That's the problem. He picked at his sandwich, appetite gone. I love this woman. I want to build a future with her. But sometimes I feel like I don't actually know who she is. Have you tried asking directly? She deflects, changes the subject, gets emotional, makes me feel like I'm being paranoid for wanting straight answers. Gaslighting, classic manipulation technique. Kara had gotten good at it. What kind of things is she hiding? I pressed. Her past relationships, for one. I know she's separated from her husband, but she won't talk about him. Won't even tell me his name. Tanner looked up from his plate. Is that normal? Everyone processes divorce differently. But we've been together 3 months. At some point, don't you share basic information about your life? 3 months of hotel rooms and lies. 3 months of believing he was dating someone who barely existed. Maybe she's protecting you, I said. Divorce can get ugly. Maybe she doesn't want to drag you into the drama. That's what I keep telling myself. But then I think, if she can't trust me with the truth about her marriage, how can we build something real together? How indeed. I made a decision, reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. Tanner, I said quietly, I need to show you something. What? I opened my photo gallery to the pictures from our wedding day. Kara, in white, radiant with happiness, kissing her new husband on the steps of St. Mary's Cathedral. This is my wife, I said, turning the phone so he could see the screen. He glanced at it politely, then froze. The color drained from his face as recognition hit. That's... He grabbed the phone, staring at the image. That's Claire. Claire. She'd even given him a fake name. Her name is Kara, I said gently. Kara Venner. And she's not separated, Tanner. She's married to me. The phone slipped from his hands, clattering onto the table. He stared at me with the expression of a man watching his world collapse in real time. You're... He swallowed hard. You're Damon. I am. But she said... She told me her husband was... He couldn't finish the sentence. What did she tell you about me? That you were emotionally absent. That you ignored her, took her for granted, that the marriage had been over for years. His voice was barely a whisper. She said you were basically strangers. We are strangers. She made sure of that. I leaned forward. But not because I stopped trying, Tanner, because she started lying. He pushed back from the table, hands shaking. I can't. This isn't happening. It is happening. Has been for 3 months. But she loves me. She said she loves me. Maybe she does. But she's been lying to both of us. No. He stood abruptly, knocking over his chair. This is some kind of mistake. You're wrong about her. Am I? When's the last time you were at her place, Tanner? When's the last time she introduced you to her friends? Why do you think she only sees you on Thursday nights and occasional weekends? Each question hit like a physical blow. I watched him connect the dots, see the pattern he'd been ignoring. She's going to leave you, he said desperately. She's filing for divorce. She told you what you needed to hear to keep you around while she figured out her exit strategy. I pulled out my phone again, opened the recording app. Want to hear what she told her lawyer about you? No. He backed away from the table. I don't believe this. You're lying. I'm not lying, Tanner. I wish I were. He stood there for a long moment, swaying slightly, processing the magnitude of the deception. Then he fumbled for his phone. I have to call her, he said. I have to hear this from her. Go ahead. He dialed with trembling fingers, waited through several rings. Claire, it's me. I need to see you, right now. A pause. I don't care what you're doing. This is important. Another pause, longer this time. Fine, your place. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up and looked at me with something between hatred and desperation. If you're lying about this, I'm not. Then why tell me? Why not just handle it yourself? Because you deserve the truth, and because she's been lying to both of us. I have to go. Tanner. He stopped at the door. For what it's worth, I don't blame you. You didn't know. He left without responding, probably racing across town to confront the woman he thought he loved. I finished my sandwich slowly, then drove home. Kara's car was in the driveway when I arrived. Through the living room window, I could see her pacing, phone pressed to her ear. Damage control mode, trying to figure out what Tanner knew and how much trouble she was in. I parked and walked calmly to the front door. My house, my key, my right to enter. Inside, Kara was still on the phone, voice pitched high with panic. I don't know what he told you, but you have to listen to me. She saw me enter and went silent. He's here, she said into the phone. Just come over, please. She hung up and faced me, chin raised in defiance despite the fear in her eyes. You told him, she said. I did. Why? Because he deserved the truth. Because I deserve the truth. Because this charade has gone on long enough. You had no right. I had every right. He's been sleeping with my wife. The words hung between us like a confession. Finally, the truth was out in the open, where we could all see it. You don't understand, she said. What we have is real. What you and I have is what? A marriage? A commitment? 12 years of shared history? Is over. Her voice was steady now, resolved. It's been over for years, Damon. We both know it. Do we? Because I seem to remember promising to work through problems together, not run away when things got difficult. Some problems can't be worked through. Like what? Like the fact that we stopped talking, stopped trying, stopped fighting for what we built together? Like the fact that we don't love each other anymore. The words hit harder than I'd expected, not because they were cruel, but because part of me wondered if they were true. Is that what you tell yourself? I asked. That this is about love? What else would it be about? Control, excitement, the thrill of having a secret. I moved closer, watching her face. When's the last time you tried to love me, Kara? When's the last time you put effort into us instead of into him? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You got bored, you found someone new, and instead of being honest about it, you decided to manage both relationships until it suited you to choose. That's not... The doorbell rang. We both froze, staring at each other across 12 years of shared space that suddenly felt like enemy territory. That's him, she said. I know. What are you going to do? I'm going to let him in, and then we're all going to have a conversation about the truth. I walked to the front door and opened it. Tanner stood on my porch, face pale but determined. Behind him, the neighborhood looked exactly the same as it had that morning. Same houses, same trees, same quiet suburban normalcy. But everything had changed. Come in, I said. He stepped inside, eyes taking in the family photos on the walls, the wedding picture on the mantel, the evidence of a life shared between two people who weren't him. Kara appeared in the doorway to the living room, no longer the confident woman who'd been managing 2 relationships with surgical precision. She looked small, caught, exposed. Tanner, she said, is it true? His voice was steady, but I could hear the effort it cost him. Are you married to him? She looked between us, calculating one last time whether she could salvage this situation with the right combination of words. Yes, she said finally. And you lied to me. About everything. Not everything. What we have is real. What we have is built on lies. He turned to me. How long have you known? About a month. And you've been watching us, following us. I've been trying to understand what was happening to my marriage. By befriending me. By pretending to be my friend while you knew I was— He couldn't finish the sentence. While you were what? Sleeping with my wife? You did that, Tanner. Not me. I didn't know she was married. Because she lied to you. Just like she's been lying to me. Kara stepped between us, hands raised. Stop it. Both of you. This isn't helping anything. What would help? I asked. More lies? More hotel rooms? More Thursday night emergencies? I never meant for this to happen, she said. Which part? The affair or getting caught? Any of it. I never meant to hurt anyone. But you did hurt people, Tanner said quietly. You hurt him. You hurt me. You hurt yourself. I was trying to find a way out that didn't destroy everything. By destroying everything in secret instead? I shook my head. That's not protection, Kara. That's cowardice. She flinched, like I'd slapped her. You don't understand what it's like to feel trapped in a life that doesn't fit anymore. So you talk about it. You try counseling. You work on it together, or you end it honestly. I gestured between the three of us. You don't create this. I couldn't just throw away 12 years. You already did. The moment you walked into that hotel room. The silence that followed was deafening. 3 people standing in the wreckage of relationships built on lies, half-truths, and willful blindness. I should go, Tanner said finally. Wait. Kara reached for him. We need to talk, alone. No. He stepped back. I can't. I need time to think. Tanner, please. What we have is real. It doesn't matter how it started. It matters to me. He looked at both of us one more time, then walked to the door. I'm sorry, he said to me. I really didn't know. I know. And I'm sorry, he said to Kara. But I can't be part of this anymore. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. Kara and I stood in our living room, surrounded by the detritus of our marriage and her affair, finally alone with the truth. Are you happy now? She asked. No, I said honestly. But at least it's over. What's over? The lies, the pretending, the game you've been playing with both our lives. She sank onto the couch, head in her hands. What happens now? Now we figure out how to end this honestly. And if I don't want it to end? I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd loved, the woman who'd chosen deception over honesty when our marriage got difficult. Then you should have thought of that before you started planning your exit strategy with a divorce lawyer, I said. Her head snapped up. How did you— I know about Melissa. I know about the hotel receipts. I know about the fake name you gave him. I sat down across from her. I know everything, Kara. The only question now is what we do with the truth. She stared at me for a long moment, seeing me clearly for the first time in years. Not the oblivious husband she'd been managing, but the man who'd spent a month documenting her betrayal with methodical precision. You're not who I thought you were, she said. Neither are you. Outside, a car started, probably Tanner, driving away from the woman he'd thought he loved and the life he'd thought they were building together. Inside, 2 people who'd promised to love each other forever sat in the ruins of their marriage, finally ready to have an honest conversation. It was too late to save what we'd built, but maybe finally we could figure out how to end it with some dignity intact. The longest night was over. Now came the reckoning. The house felt different with the truth finally exposed, smaller somehow, as if secrets had been taking up physical space. Kara sat across from me in our living room, former living room, looking like a stranger wearing familiar clothes. How long have you been planning this? She asked. Planning what? The investigation, the befriending him, all of it. I considered lying, softening the edges to make this easier for both of us. But we'd had enough lies. Since I found the hotel receipts, about 3 weeks. 3 weeks. She laughed bitterly. I thought I was being so careful. You were careful, just not careful enough. And Tanner never suspected? He suspected something. He knew you were hiding things, keeping secrets. He just didn't know what. Poor Tanner. The words came out flat, emotionless. I really did care about him, you know. I know. Do you? Or do you think this was all some calculated plan to hurt you? I studied her face, looking for traces of the woman I'd married. She was still there, buried under months of deception and justification, but still recognizable. I think you were unhappy, I said. I think you felt trapped and didn't know how to fix it. I think Tanner represented everything you thought was missing from your life. He did. And I think instead of dealing with our problems honestly, you decided it was easier to start over with someone who didn't know your history. She flinched. That's not... Isn't it? Clean slate, no baggage, no 12 years of accumulated resentments and disappointments. Just pure possibility. You make it sound so calculating. Wasn't it? She was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. When she finally looked up, her eyes were wet but determined. Maybe it was, she admitted. Maybe I am that selfish. The honesty was startling after months of lies. I felt something shift inside me, not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. We're all selfish when we're drowning, I said. Is that what I was doing? Drowning? What would you call it? I felt invisible, like I was disappearing a little more each day. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. When's the last time you really looked at me, Damon? When's the last time you saw me as anything other than the person who shares your mortgage? The question hit hard because I couldn't answer it. When had I stopped seeing her as a woman and started seeing her as a roommate? When's the last time you let me see you? I countered. When's the last time you shared what you were actually thinking instead of managing my reactions? I don't know. Neither do I, but somewhere along the way, we stopped being partners and started being strangers who happened to live together. So what does that make this? A mercy ending? I don't know what this is. My phone buzzed with a text. Tanner. Can we talk? Tomorrow? I showed Kara the message. She read it without expression. What will you tell him? She asked. The truth. That none of this was his fault. And about us? What about us? Are you going to try to destroy me in the divorce? The question revealed how little she understood about who I was, who I'd always been. Even now, she thought this was about revenge. No, I said. I'm going to try to end this as cleanly as possible. Why? Because we loved each other once. Because 12 years deserves better than a scorched earth ending. Even after what I did? Especially after what you did. She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. I don't understand you. I know. That's been part of the problem. We sat in silence as the afternoon faded into evening. Outside, our neighbors were living their normal lives, walking dogs, grilling dinner, arguing about homework, the ordinary rhythm of suburban existence, unchanged by the collapse of one more marriage. I should pack some things, Kara said finally. Where will you go? Melissa's, probably, until I figure out something more permanent. You don't have to leave tonight. Yes, I do. We both know I can't stay here. She was right. The house had become a crime scene, contaminated by too many lies to ever feel safe again. I'll stay in the guest room tonight, I offered. Give you space to pack. Thank you. She stood to go upstairs, then paused at the bottom of the steps. Damon? Yeah? I'm sorry, for all of it. For lying, for hurting you, for making such a mess of everything. I know. Do you forgive me? The question I'd been dreading. Forgiveness implied a choice to let go of anger, to release the right to punishment, but it also implied a kind of understanding, an acceptance that people sometimes do terrible things for understandable reasons. I'm working on it, I said. She nodded and went upstairs. I heard her moving around in our bedroom, opening drawers, pulling clothes from hangers. The sounds of a life being dismantled piece by piece. I made dinner for one and ate it standing at the kitchen counter, staring out at the backyard where we'd hosted barbecues and birthday parties and lazy Sunday afternoons. All those memories, now tainted by the knowledge of what had been happening in secret. My phone rang. Tommy Gallagher, my old partner from the bureau. "Heard you joined Elite Fitness," he said without preamble. "News travels fast. Small town. How's the midlife crisis going? It's complicated. It always is. You want to grab a beer? You sound like you could use one. Can't tonight. Rain check? Sure. But Damon, whatever's going on, don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Anything that ends with you in handcuffs or divorce court." Too late for the second one, but I appreciated the concern. "I'll be fine, Tommy." That's what every guy says right before he does something monumentally dumb. After he hung up, I sat in my workshop, surrounded by the tools of my trade. Locks, keys, security systems, mechanisms designed to keep people safe, to protect what mattered most. The irony wasn't lost on me. Around 10 o'clock, Kara came downstairs with 2 suitcases and a box of personal items. She'd changed into jeans and a sweater, looking younger somehow without the weight of deception on her shoulders. "I think that's everything for now," she said. "What about the rest?" "We can figure that out later. With lawyers, probably." "Probably." She set her bags by the door and turned to face me one last time. "I know you don't believe this," she said, "but I never wanted to hurt you. I believe you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. That's fair. What I don't understand is why you didn't just ask for a divorce 6 months ago. Why the elaborate deception?" "Because I was scared." "Of what?" "Of being alone, of starting over at 40, of admitting that I'd wasted 12 years on something that wasn't working." "You didn't waste 12 years, Kara. We built something together. It might not have lasted forever, but it wasn't worthless." "Then why does it feel like such a failure?" "Because endings always feel like failures, even when they're necessary." She picked up her bags and walked to the door. "Will you tell Tanner I'm sorry when you see him tomorrow? Tell him yourself. I don't think he wants to hear from me. Maybe not now, but someday he might." She nodded and opened the door. "Goodbye, Damon. Goodbye." I watched her load her car and drive away, taillights disappearing around the corner. Then I locked the door and set the security system, protecting an empty house from threats that had already done their damage. The next morning, I met Tanner at Murphy's. He looked like he hadn't slept, stubble rough and eyes hollow. But he was there, which said something about his character. "How are you holding up?" I asked. "I've been better." He signaled the bartender for coffee. I keep thinking I should have seen it. The signs were all there. "She's good at managing information. It's not your fault." "Isn't it? I mean, what kind of person doesn't ask basic questions about someone they're supposedly in love with?" "The kind who's afraid the answers might complicate things. Is that what you think? That I was willfully blind?" "I think you were in love with the idea of her, the version she presented to you. And the real version is more complicated. She's not a villain, Tanner. She's just someone who made some very bad choices. Bad choices that hurt a lot of people." "Yes." He stirred his coffee absently, processing. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why didn't you just confront her when you found out? Why involve me?" "Because you deserved the truth, and because I needed to understand what I was really dealing with." "What do you mean?" "I needed to know if this was about me, about problems in our marriage, or about her capacity for deception." "And what did you conclude?" "Both. We had problems we weren't addressing. But her solution was to lie to everyone involved instead of dealing with them honestly." "So, what happens now?" "Now we all figure out how to move forward." "Together?" "Separately. She's gone, Tanner. Moved out last night. And you're okay with that? I'm not okay with any of this, but I'm accepting it. What about her? Is she okay? The question revealed everything decent about Tanner Jossman. Even after being lied to and manipulated, he still cared about her welfare. She will be, I said. Eventually. Do you think she really loved me? Or was I just convenient? I think she loved the way you made her feel, whether that's the same as loving you. I shrugged. You'd have to ask her. I don't think I can do that. Not now, but maybe someday. We finished our coffee in comfortable silence. Two men who'd been manipulated by the same woman, trying to make sense of the wreckage. I'm sorry, Tanner said finally, for my part in this. You didn't know. But I should have. I should have asked harder questions, demanded real answers. We all should have done things differently. What will you do now? Get divorced. Sell the house, probably. Start over. That sounds lonely. Maybe. Or maybe it sounds like freedom. He smiled for the first time since I'd known him. You know, I think I might actually like you under different circumstances. Same here. Think we'll ever see each other again? Probably not. But I hope you find what you're looking for. You too. He left money on the table and walked away, probably heading back to his loft and his uncomplicated bachelor life. I envied him the clean slate, the ability to start fresh without the weight of 12 years of shared history. That afternoon, I called a real estate agent and a divorce attorney, started the process of dismantling a life I'd spent more than a decade building. The house sold quickly, good neighborhood, fair price, no emotional attachment from the buyers. I kept what I needed, donated what I didn't, and put the rest in storage. 6 months later, I was living in a downtown apartment, running my locksmith business from a small office, dating a teacher named Rebecca who laughed at my jokes and meant what she said. I never saw Kara again, though I heard through mutual friends that she'd moved to another state, started fresh, somewhere new. I hoped she'd learn to be honest with whoever came next. Tanner sent me a Christmas card that first year, a photo of him with a blonde woman and a golden retriever, all three of them smiling in front of a Christmas tree. On the back, he'd written, "Found what I was looking for. Hope you did too." I had. Not what I'd expected to find, but something better. The truth about who I was when everything else was stripped away. Someone who could survive betrayal without becoming bitter, who could end a marriage without destroying the person who'd broken it. The longest night was over. What came after was up to me. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough.